365 Sports.
Welcome back to another episode of 365 Sports Mizzou with myself, Davis Wilson. Thanks to Rogue Media for putting this show on and everything. This is the first show of 2026. So happy New Year to all the listeners. It's January 2nd today. I took the 1st off. I took the 31st off. And I think I took the 30th off as well because I was traveling on the 30th. But hope you guys have enjoyed the holidays, man. It's been good for me. Gotten to see a lot of friends and family. It's been very nice. And yeah, we're in a new year now, and we're going to keep things going here at 365 Sports Mizzou. This first episode of the year, I think, will be a good one. We got a lot of stuff to talk about. It is Friday, and that means that the transfer portal opened today officially. So that means that people can start visiting, they can start committing, they can start, really officially entering the transfer portal. So there's a lot that's going on. It's 11 o'clock in the morning right now. There's already a lot of news regarding Mizzou, regarding everything else. We'll talk about that. First, though, I'd like to talk about the college football playoff because, hey, we've got a really interesting semifinal, and we had a lot of really interesting games this weekend. Starting off, I'll just go through some of these and I'll talk about things as they come up. But on the 31st, on New Year's Eve, Miami beat Ohio State 24-14. Ohio State loses 2 in a row to end the season. Miami, who I really didn't know if they should have made the playoff, they're now in the semifinal with the chance to go play for the whole thing on the line. So I thought that was pretty interesting. Ohio State losing early was surprising to me. But hey, man, I love it. I love these kind of upsets that happen now. A lot more than they used to. And I'll talk about that in a little bit as well. But just for now, going through these, that was definitely an upset, I think, for sure. Ohio State was one of the favorites to win it all. I don't know. I guess Indiana was probably the favorite. I didn't look at the odds before, but that's a big upset there. Secondly, Oregon beats Texas Tech 23-0. Texas Tech was an interesting story. I was talking to someone about this Texas Tech story, and I think it's always cool for a team that doesn't usually reside at the top of college football. I think it's cool when those types of teams, kind of come to the top and make some noise. And Texas Tech did that this year. They burst onto the scene. They've got what a lot of people thought should have been a Heisman contender linebacker in Jacob Rodriguez. They have talent everywhere they look. But I was talking about this. I can't remember who said it to me. Someone was like, Texas Tech's a fun story. Like, are they really a fun story? I get it that they are not a typical powerhouse team, but they also spent so much money. So they've got just oil money pumped into their program. It's a cool story for sure. But it's interesting. Like, do you consider that to be an underdog story, a fun story? Like, I don't know. I guess it is. I would say probably it is a fun story. But it's just funny because you have like a bunch of these rich oil guys saying, yeah, I'll give you whatever you want. Texas Tech spent a ton of money and it worked out for them big time. But the run ends here against Oregon in the Orange Bowl. Oregon shuts them out, wins 23-0. I think, Oregon is really good. Oregon beat up on Texas Tech last year. There's still room to improve for Texas Tech. Maybe another billionaire can give him a couple $1 million or something. But, I was kind of, I was interested. I was kind of rooting for Texas Tech. I'm from Texas. I don't really like Texas Tech that much, but the Big 12, I'll always love the Big 12. And I was just thinking to myself, would you consider Texas Tech to be an underdog story if they just have the most money? Wouldn't you expect them to be here? I don't know. All right, let's move on though to Alabama and Indiana. Indiana beat Alabama 38-3. A blowout, a huge blowout. So is Texas Tech Oregon. Although that one always had the feel of being a little bit closer. In the third quarter, it was 13-0. At the end of the third, it was 13-0. This one, Indiana, Alabama, never had the feel of it being a good game. Indiana killed them. Indiana looked like the old Saban Bama teams, and made this Alabama team look like one of those poor schools that had to go against, Saban at Alabama at his best, a real role reversal, which I think was kind of interesting, kind of fun. But this Indiana is a true underdog story. It's just incredible what's happening there with Coach Signetti, who's, I think people just love that guy. Fernando Mendoza is, an incredible quarterback. You think back to last year, Missouri had, reportedly had a chance to get him. So it makes you wonder what goes differently this year with Mendoza at the helm for Missouri. But Indiana was just terrible 2 years ago. Like, this was a bad football program. I mean, not even – it's incredible. I mean, in 2023, and for the Missouri fans, to put that into perspective, 2023 is the year that Missouri went 11-2 and won the Cotton Bowl. Like, that was not long ago. It tells you right there, like, wow, that was not long ago. That year, Indiana went 3-9. 3-9. And then in 2024, they go 11-2. They make the playoffs, they lose. 2025, they're 14-0. They just won the Rose Bowl. They just beat Alabama. It's crazy. It's crazy to me. They've got Ole Miss coming up, which is a winnable game for them. Like, this story is just incredible. I mean, at best, Indiana before Signetti, with Tom Allen, they had a couple of decent years with Tom Allen, but you would have never thought Indiana would be the face. I mean, they're number one. They're the number one team in the country. They're really good. So that, to me, is really crazy. One of my repeated guests, a friend of the show, Adam Busak, who's been on here a couple times. I worked with him last football season covering Missouri. He posed a very interesting question, if I can find it. He said, in a vacuum, which of these things would have been more unbelievable if someone had told you at the end of last college football season? Coach Whittingham, the longtime Utah coach to Michigan, James Franklin of Virginia Tech, Pat Fitzgerald to Michigan State, or Indiana to the number one seed. 4 things that are pretty crazy that happened this year in the past couple of weeks. And my answer was, if you told me this at the end of last football season, I would have said James Franklin of Virginia Tech is the most shocking one, because James Franklin had just been to the semifinals with Penn State. I would have told you it's very unlikely he gets fired. In Virginia Tech, of all places, that program's been down in the dumps for a while now. So that was my answer. But I told him, if you had told me this 2 years ago, at the end of 2 football seasons ago, it would without a doubt be Indiana, being the number one seed. Because, I say that because last year Indiana was good, and you could tell Signetti knew exactly what he was doing, and they went and got Mendoza. So I think it would have been less surprising. It would have been shocking to hear that Indiana would be the number one seed last year, but it's at least like, yeah, they were really good this year. They made the playoffs, so it's within the realm of possibility. But 2 years ago, if you had told me Indiana would be the number one seed in the college football playoff in 2025, it would have been completely unbelievable. And it just is such a great job done by Coach Cignetti, getting there and immediately winning. Lastly, the only really great game of the four quarterfinal games, Ole Miss beats Georgia 39-34. What a story this is going to be if Ole Miss can keep this thing going. Their coach leaves them right before a playoff run for a big rival. And now they promoted Pete Golding, their defensive coordinator. He's now the head coach. And I think that was the right call because, one, you retain a lot of your talent. Oftentimes when there's coaching changes, you lose a lot. But having familiarity on the staff for Pete Golding is great. This would be an incredible story. And I'll say it, I'm rooting for Ole Miss to win it all. I think that would be awesome. And, I don't hate Lane Kiffin. I actually like Lane Kiffin. But for all the kind of wild storylines that he gives us in college football, this would be number one. I mean, this would be the craziest storyline ever involving Lane Kiffin. He rebuilds this Ole Miss program, a program that really, it wasn't as bad as Indiana, nowhere close. But it wasn't great. They had good years, but by no means was Ole Miss a great football program when Lane took over, in 2020. In 2019, they went 4-8. He takes over in 2020. They go 5-5, then 10-3, then 8-5. So he's building this thing up. They finally make the playoff, and he leaves, leaving Pete Golding in charge. And now they're in the quarterfinal. They play the number one team in the country next week with a spot in the national championship on the line. If Ole Miss could go win the national championship, man, it would be the greatest story. It would be so awesome for them. And for those players, the fans absolutely deserve it. So, I think it's awesome. I really think it's going to be fun. But they destroyed. I was thinking of Alabama. Speaking of Indiana just now, they did not destroy Georgia. It was another great game between Ole Miss and Georgia. Ole Miss gets it done though. Trinidad Chambliss, man, what a game! Makes a really great throw late to go take the lead. Keywan Lacey continues to be awesome for Ole Miss. Makes you wonder more and more why he didn't play last year for Missouri. But Ole Miss wins at 39-34, knocks off Kirby Smart. This is Pete Golding's second ever game as a head coach. He's 2-0. Knocks off Kirby Smart. What a game, man. What an awesome game that was. What a story it is. Happy for Pete Golding. Happy for the fans and everything. All right, so looking ahead. Oh, let's talk about this first, though. Indiana and Ole Miss, these two programs having a ton of success in getting to the playoff and doing everything. And you can even throw in Texas Tech in that. You can throw in not really Miami, but the point is Indiana and Ole Miss beating Alabama and Georgia. It really does it feels very symbolic of where we're going in college football. Indiana and Ole Miss knocking off schools like Alabama and Georgia is super fun. I don't care what anyone says. It's awesome. It really is fun. It's just like, you never know. The same teams aren't going to win every year. And I think that's always fun, to have some sort of parity on some level in college football. I think that's great. And, as much as we kind of complain about what's happening with the transfer portal and NIL, a couple of the good things that are coming out of it are, one of them is parity. One of them is that these schools that you never would have thought could ever beat Georgia in the college football playoff or Alabama in the college football playoff, they both do it. Same thing with Texas Tech. This program wasn't that good for a while. And now they're great, and they made the playoff. They're probably going to be there for years. They have so much support financially that, that's another team that's just going to keep showing up, I think. And in a similar, not quite as dramatic, but Miami beating Ohio State, the defending national champion, is really cool as well. I think Miami has history as a program. Indiana and Ole Miss don't have that as much history as Miami by any means, but that's still an upset. Miami beating Ohio State. I think it's just cool. You never know what to expect in these games, and that's awesome, I think. One more thing I have to gripe about. Alabama got destroyed. Texas Tech got beat real bad. Blowouts. Everybody complained about the blowouts when Oregon beat James Madison and when Ole Miss beat Tulane. Like, we can never have a G5 school, a group of 5 school, make the playoff again. And this has always bothered me so much. Just because it's a blowout does not mean that it shouldn't have happened. As college football fans, why do we feel like we're entitled to have all-time classic games every time? It's not like that in any sport. It's not ever like that. The NBA Finals has blowouts. The NFL playoffs has blowouts. Baseball, there's blowouts, especially with what the Dodgers are doing. There's blowouts. It's really this year, the World Series was awesome. But I'm just saying in general, these things happen. These things totally happen. Why are we as college football fans, when we see one blowout in the playoffs, saying, oh, yeah, they shouldn't have made it? When TCU got blitzed by Georgia in the national championship a few years ago, it was like TCU never deserved to be in. What do you mean? They went undefeated in the regular season, and then they beat Michigan in the first round of the playoff. And now, now you're doing revisionist history, saying just because they got beat terribly means they shouldn't have been in there. You're saying Tulane shouldn't be rewarded for being good, being great, winning their conference. James Madison. Look, I'm not saying that the committee doesn't make mistakes. Maybe another team deserved to be in, but these teams had great seasons. And if you're going to say no more group of 5 schools because they get blown out, what exactly are the group of 5 schools playing for, if not an opportunity to get into a 12-team playoff? Texas Tech got blown out by Oregon. Did they not deserve to be in this either, even though they won the Big 12, even though they had one loss regular season? Alabama, they went 11-3. They beat Oklahoma last week in the playoff, a team that they lost to in the regular season, but they got blown out this week by the number 1 team. Does that mean Alabama doesn't deserve to be in? I just think we're slowly creeping to a kind of a dangerous zone where we're saying only blue blood should be in the playoff because, they play competitive games. I just think that's terrible. I think, every team, like Tulane deserves an opportunity to play for something awesome. And maybe they're not going to win it. It's not like March Madness because football is different and you have a lot fewer games in football for upsets to happen. But, it's just fun. It's college sports. Let these kids have a chance to do this. I don't understand why we see one upset and Twitter's like, ooh, we need to kick G5 schools out of the playoff. That should not be your reaction. I don't know. I just think I hate it. I hate that this is where we are. The NBA Finals, I remember the Mavs, and the Mavs got there in 2024 and lost in 5 games. It wasn't a close series at all. The Celtics, won 4 or 5 games. But that season was awesome, and the Mavs went on this playoff run that was great, and they deserve to be in. And just because it's a blowout, why are we saying, it's different in college sports, obviously, because you have people choosing who gets to play instead of just records determining who gets to play. But I don't understand why there's this sort of sense of entitlement from college football fans that when there's one blowout, everybody says, yeah, I knew it. They should never have let this team in. it's just like, enjoy it, okay? Because the point of the playoffs is that you're whittling down these 12 teams into the two best teams. You're getting the best game at the end of the year, the national championship. So who cares if there's a couple blowouts? Like, come on. I mean, I don't think that I think there's a lot. I mean, it's concerning how many like national media people are saying like, we need to, get rid of bowl games and get rid of G5 bids, group of 5 bids. All the bids need to come from the SEC and the Big Ten. Like, I just think that's a dangerous way to think, because so much of the fun of college football is like giving these teams a chance. And I don't know. I've always been bothered by this notion of like, oh, it was a blowout, so they didn't deserve to be in. There's going to be blowouts in sports, so just deal with it is what I would say. Okay, so the semifinals, Miami and Oregon. That'll be a fun game, man. That'll be a really fun game. And then Indiana, Ole Miss. Miami, Oregon, Indiana, Ole Miss. That's a really fun, different Final Four than we've had in a long time. So I'm pretty excited. I'm pretty excited for this. This is fun. My picks, I'm picking Oregon and I'm picking Indiana. I think it'll be a Big Ten championship. We'll see what happens. So I'm rooting for Ole Miss. I want to put that out there. I love Ole Miss. I think their story's awesome. I was always the whole Mizzou, Columbia, Missouri football beat last year was all in on Kewan Lacey. I think we talked about him a lot. Like, this guy's awesome. So it just feels good to see him be awesome, and it makes me right. And I like to be right. Everybody likes to be right. But Kewan Lacey, I have no reason to dislike him. He's also from Texas, so I have that. I always like that. And then Pete Golding, man, put in a really tough spot, and now he's 2-0 with wins over Tulane and Georgia. Getting confused. I'm rooting for Ole Miss, but I think Indiana is like super well coached, super talented. So I think they win. And then I got Oregon. I have Oregon. I love Dan Lanning too. A lot of likable coaches this year. Signetti's great. Golding, easy to root for right now. Dan Lanning, controversial, but I like him. So there you go. That's what we have. All right, let me take a quick break, and then we're going to talk some Mizzou portal stuff. And there's already been a lot that's come out. So I got some things to talk about. But first, let's take a quick break and hear this message from DraftKings.
Missouri, your moment is finally here because DraftKings Sportsbook, America's top-rated sportsbook app, is now live in your state. Now you can make every game even more exciting with same-game parlays, money lines, props, and more. All from your phone, all safe, secure, and easy to use. Missouri fans know game day, the tailgates, the noise, the passion. Now, with DraftKings Sportsbook, you can bring that same energy to every snap, every touchdown, every win. And right now, new Missouri customers can bet just $5 and get $300 in bonus bets instantly. No waiting, no nonsense. Just pure action powered by America's top-rated sportsbook app. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use code ALLMIZZOU. New Missouri customers bet $5 and get $300 in bonus bets instantly. That's code ALLMIZZOU. Crown is yours in partnership with DraftKings Sportsbook. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. 21 plus. Physically present in Missouri. Eligibility and restrictions apply. Terms at DraftKings.com/sportsbook. Bonus bets expire 7 days after issuance. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see sportsbook.draftkings.com/promo.
Okay. Let's get into this. Oh, I almost just X'd out of this recording. That would have been terrible. Let's see. Like, news is just coming in as I am like recording this right now. I'm trying to make sure I don't sort of forget anything. But I'm just going to go ahead and get into this. And if I miss something, I'll come back and look at my Twitter when I'm done with talking. And if there's more to say, I'll say more. But transfer portal. Crazy times going on right now in the portal. First, I want to talk about the players leaving Missouri. I'm going to list them out here and talk about what I notice about the list, what a lot of fans are talking about in terms of what the list looks like. Here you go. Caleb Flagg, James Madison II, Brendan Haygood, Marquise Davis, Joshua Manning, Javion Hilson, Marquise Johnson, Bo Perbula, Henry Finucane, Robert Meyer, Johnny Williams IV, Javen Richardson, Brandon Solis, C.J. Bass, Mark Manfred, Tavoris Jones, Jalen Early, Shamar McNeil, Keaton Jones, Justin Bodford. Okay, those are your lists. The only huge, big names that are in this list, guys that contributed a lot, are obviously Bo Perbula, the quarterback. Josh Manning had some great moments this year. Marquise Johnson is a name that we've known here at Missouri for a long time. That's it. That's kind of it. Javen Richardson had a nice game against South Carolina earlier in the year. Other than that, it's a lot of guys who didn't play a ton. You have Javion Hilson, who is almost a 5-star recruit. That's kind of a bummer. True freshman. Tavoris Jones is a guy that I've always liked, even though he never plays. He stayed a long time and never played, and I think that's cool. He just stayed because he liked Missouri. I'm hoping he finds a situation where he gets to play because for whatever reason, I've always really liked Tavoris Jones. But, so Bo Perbula, Joshua Manning, Marquise Johnson, Javen Richardson, Robert Meyer are your guys that contributed this year a little bit and are leaving. That's fine. I mean, we knew that these wide receivers were going to transfer. By the way, Daniel Blood, I think, is also on this list. It just now happened. Another receiver, didn't play a ton. We knew we were going to lose some receivers after the passing year that we had, Missouri had offensively. So that's fine. But here's what's interesting. A lot of fans are talking about this. You have 9 of these guys are true freshmen who didn't play, committed last year, and are now leaving immediately. Missouri's kind of had this problem a couple of years in a row. Like Williams Nwaneri leaves after 1 year, after really not playing a ton. Big time recruit there. Javion Hilson this year, Kejuan Lacey last year. The numbers, though, like 9 of these guys are true freshmen who were who came to Missouri last year, never got a chance. And I'm just like, I think that's wild. I think that's really crazy that this is kind of where we're headed. I mean, I do not blame Drinkwitz for. It seems like there was a lot less of an emphasis on high school recruiting this year and a really big emphasis on more so the transfer portal. And I think we're going to see that keep happening. I mean, there's no reason for Drinkwitz to be recruiting these guys when they just leave right away. So I think high school recruiting, particularly, it's countrywide, but particularly here at Missouri, I think you're just not going to see a ton of it anymore. That's my guess. Because 9 guys of your 2025 recruiting class. It's also for me, like I covered this signing day last year and I wrote a bunch of stories about these guys and it's all for nothing now. It's ridiculous, really. But let's see. You had 17 guys in that 2025 class. 9 of them are transferring this year. I just think that's wild, man. I really do. I think that's crazy. But it's the way it goes. I think, I don't think many people are going to care about high school recruiting like they used to when guys just leave right away. I don't know. We'll see what happens. Because even, you have apparently they are signing like 2-year contracts, but those don't even matter. You don't have to adhere to them. So that's interesting. Another interesting number about this list, 5 of them are offensive linemen, depth pieces. So I think Missouri is going to hit that pretty hard in the portal. So those are guys leaving. The 5 offensive linemen, by the way, are, let me find them, Henry Finucane, Johnny Williams IV, Javen Richardson, Brandon Solis, Jalen Early, Keaton Jones, Justin Bodford are all offensive linemen. And your freshmen are Brennan Haygood, Marquise Davis, Javion Hilson, Henry Fanuku, CJ Bass, Mark Manford, Shamar McNeil, Keaton Jones, Justin Bodford. There you go. I think, if I'm remembering correctly, that's correct. All right. Something a little more positive, though. Let's talk about who's coming back. And it's kind of a double-sided thing. When you have the transfer portal, you want to bring guys in and you want to keep guys in. You want to keep your guys coming back. And you have to do that now. You have to renegotiate contracts, I guess. You have to sign new deals. Like Missouri's been releasing these graphics that are like re-signed, which is crazy. This is happening in college football. But here's some guys who re-signed. Ahmad Hardy, thank goodness. A Heisman favorite next year, in my opinion. Got to get him an offensive line, obviously, but this guy's great. Ahmad Hardy coming back. Jamal Roberts also coming back. I think that's great. I think that tells you that Missouri is going to run the hell out of the football next year. You have your two top backs coming back. I guess my guess would be if you're Drinkwitz and you're selling this to Jamal Roberts, you're saying, all right, we have one more year of Ahmad Hardy, and you're going to get plenty of opportunity in that year. But then after that, you're going to have another year left, and you can be our starter. You can be our feature back. I think that's maybe what we're thinking about. That could be the reason Jamal Roberts is coming back. Maybe he's saying, you just wait a little bit longer, and you're going to play a lot next year with Ahmad Hardy. But after that, you'll be the feature back. And you know how Missouri likes their feature backs. So maybe that's why. Caden Green, left tackle, coming back. Huge, huge, huge for the offensive line. Massive news. He's back. And he was less so about re-signing to a new deal. He was more about he might go to the draft. He might go get drafted. Nicholas Rodriguez had a massive game against Virginia. I'll talk about Missouri's got a hole at the linebacker spot now. Nicholas Rodriguez is going to step up and be the guy in the linebacker room and maybe on the whole defense. Huge. Donovan Olubade back was an absolute priority. You have to bring this guy back. They've done it. Wouldn't be shocked if this is your wide receiver one next year. I think Missouri will recruit wide receiver in the portal pretty hard, but still, this guy is so talented, so good. Huge to have him back. And then, of course, Matt Zoller is coming back, which was expected, but he re-signed. I don't know if he'll play this year. I would not be opposed to getting a couple quarterbacks in here and letting Zoller's redshirt because he didn't get to redshirt this year. You redshirt him, and then the year after that, he's ready to go. I think that would be ideal. All right, Josiah Trotter heading to the NFL draft, declared for the draft. I think a lot of Missouri fans were holding their breath, like maybe he'll come back. But unfortunately, after 1 year, he is going to the NFL. He's going to be a great player there, so we'll see. So we knew that Caden Green and Josiah Trotter, and then Damon Wilson were all guys who were going to decide whether to go to the draft or come back. Caden Green stays, Trotter goes. We're waiting on Damon Wilson. That would be a huge to get him to return. So there you go. Those are the guys returning. All right. Transfer news. Bo Prabula is visiting Virginia Tech and Georgia Tech, according to someone on Twitter. I should probably attribute where I found these, because I've had people steal my news or content. It's annoying. Don't do that, by the way. I mean, come on. Let's try to attribute. Pete Nakos of On3 reports that Virginia Tech and Georgia Tech are two schools to watch for Missouri transfer Bo Prabula. Marquise Johnson reportedly has Kentucky is a early leader, and that's funny. And also, by the way, that is based on a report on Twitter as well. Looks like a couple of people are reporting it. On3 seems to be the one reporting it. It's funny, though, that Kentucky could be his landing spot, because you'll remember he was the one who caught the fake punt touchdown in 2023 that kind of turned Missouri's season around, helped them, get going. And also really hurt Kentucky's program. Like after that point, they weren't ever quite the same. So it's funny that he might end up there. But, we'll see, obviously. Okay, that's all I know about. That's all I've seen, at least, about some guys that are going from Missouri to somewhere else, visits and whatnot. But there are a couple guys in the portal who are there's early interest, reported interest between them and Missouri, and I'll talk about those guys now. First guy I saw was defensive lineman, Jacksonville State defensive lineman. I might butcher the pronunciation of this name, Emmanuel Oyebadejo, who's a 6'7", 320-pound defensive lineman. Massive dude. And the coolest part about him, he's from London. That's sick. I think that's super fun. You don't get that much. So Emmanuel Oyebadejo is visiting Florida, Texas A&M, and Missouri. I don't know exactly when those visits are. I think it has been reported maybe on Power Mizzou. So if you have that, you can go check that out there. I don't know when the visit is. So that's one guy. And something interesting, Coach Reed, Carl Reed, is his agent with Clutch Sports. But Carl Reed is a guy with Missouri ties. I've talked to Carl Reed before for a story I wrote last year about Tornado Pride. He's a Missouri guy. So maybe there is, I don't know. There's something there. I think he and Drinkwitz have a relationship, so maybe there's something there. Okay, next up we have a report by, let me go ahead and get this. Everybody's wondering what's going to happen for Missouri at quarterback. I'll tell you. This guy's an option. Kennesaw State quarterback Amari Odom is reportedly, according to Matt Zenitz of CBS Sports and Chris Hummer of 247/CBS Sports, also represented by Carl Reed. Kennesaw State quarterback transfer Amari Odom has set up a pair of visits. His first one is on January 5th. He is visiting Syracuse. And on January 7th, he will be in Columbia for a visit to Missouri. Amari Odom was a first-team all-conference player in Conference USA. He threw for 2,594 yards, 19 touchdowns. Obviously, this is not one of the top maybe prospects at quarterback, like not one of your big names, like your Dylan Raiola or Josh Hoover or whatever. But you assume that you probably get this guy for less, and he is a productive player. He was very good, at Kennesaw State. So I don't know. It could be something. It could be something there. I don't know. But let me find the rest of his stats. He I like to always kind of look at his, hold on. So he started out his career at Wofford, played 2 years there, transferred into Kennesaw State. This was kind of his breakout season. He opened the season against Indiana, and obviously Indiana is way better than Kennesaw State, but he was 10-16 for 167 yards and an interception. His best game probably was against Arkansas State, where he threw for 308 yards and a touchdown and also ran for 100 yards and a touchdown. So he can do both. He's a dual threat type of guy. He threw for 387 yards and 5 touchdowns against Missouri State. And then in the conference championship game, a game that they lost, he threw for 209 yards, a touchdown, and 2 interceptions. So this is something. I don't know. I'm not going to pretend like I'm an expert on Amari Odom. I'm not. But it's fun to see, kind of what Missouri is looking at. I think that's interesting to see. All right. Those are the two visits I found. There's probably more out there, but I can't really see it all. Sorry, I just buffered. That's crazy. I just buffered. I can't see it all at once. Here's some other guys that, I think will be interested in, Missouri is interested in at least. And this is another quarterback, much bigger name than Amari Odom. DJ Lagway. Okay. DJ Lagway, a former 5-star recruit, played at Florida for 2 seasons. He is a true sophomore. Stats weren't awesome this year, but I think he was dealing with an injury through some of it. Obviously, he's got these tools. He's a 5-star quarterback. He was really exciting as a true freshman. But Matt Zenitz, again, the guy I just mentioned from CBS Sports, he says that Baylor, Louisville, Missouri, and Virginia are all expected to be in the mix for Florida quarterback transfer DJ Lagway. He's the 3rd best quarterback in the 247 Sports transfer portal ranking. He's the 10th best player overall. This would be really fun, if nothing else. A huge name. When you have guys like Ahmad Hardy and Jamal Roberts, like the pressure is off of a quarterback like DJ Lagway a little bit. Maybe it allows him to do a little bit more with less pressure. I don't know. Okay. Lastly, Chase Hendricks, wide receiver from Ohio. From Missouri, a Missouri kid, played at St. Mary's, teammate of Jamal Roberts. There's no reported interest, but he's been all over social media talking about, I'm going to be teammates with Jamal Roberts again. He was really good at Ohio, by the way. He's a receiver. He's 6 foot tall. Like I said, he's from St. Louis. He caught for 1,037 yards this season, 7 touchdowns, had 6 games of over 100 yards receiving, including, he had 76 yards against Ohio State. That was a good team. He had 115 yards against Rutgers, 121 yards against West Virginia. So just because he played for Ohio and, in the MAC, he played some good competition, Big Ten, 2 Big Ten teams, a Big 12 team, and was productive. And so I think that there's a chance Missouri is going to get in on him. I'm going to pause this really fast, and I will go scroll Twitter, see if there's anything new that has come out about involving Missouri. If there is, I'll tell you. If not, I'll just finish this thing off. So give me 1 second. All right, there's nothing really new. There probably will be by the time this uploads, but right now I can't find anything. I do realize I did not tell you the stats of Jacksonville State. Defensive lineman Emmanuel Oyebadeo. He had 43 tackles this year, 6.5 tackles for loss, 4.5 sacks, 5 pass defended, 2 forced fumbles. Those are his stats. So I love big defensive linemen, and that would be pretty exciting. So there you go. Okay, that's all I have. I'll be back tomorrow, or not tomorrow because it's the weekend. I'll be back Monday. Missouri plays some basketball Monday, I think. I need to try to lock back into Missouri basketball after a couple of frustrating weeks. But I'll talk about that. I'll talk about portal stuff, playoff stuff, whatever. Thanks for being here. Happy New Year. I'll see you soon.
365 Sports.